What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, gentlemen. So today we're at DIY Dad's shop and we're doing the CV axles on this 2006 Acura TL with the V6, with the 3.2 liter V6 VTEC. Now, he went down, had a four-wheel alignment. The guy at the alignment shop said his CV axles was starting to go out, so he ordered some from Rock Auto. They came in and we're gonna change them. So we're gonna run through it with you guys. For anybody out there driving a small car or an Acura with CV axles that's starting to pop or wear out. So we're gonna walk over here real quick. Look, he's over here messing around with them already. So the brand is Cordon. This is what we got, man. So there is a left and a right. We'll match them up as we take them off. So we're gonna get the car jacked up, get the wheels blown off of it, start going through the process with y'all. So just sit back and relax, enjoy the content, and here we go. All right, guys, so jumping right into this, man. Now, I do want to say, stick around to the end of the video. I'm going to give you an update on the lower control arms and what I got going on for the 2003 Hemi Ram. Now, with that being said and out of the way, we'll touch bases on that in the closing statements of this video. So let's jump right into this. We got the car jacked up, got it on jack stand, safety first. So we're going to pull this brake caliper off. And then we're gonna take the upper control arm loose. I believe this is a 10. And then we got a 10 here, so our brake line and our ABS sensor line will get out of the way. Then we're gonna take our tie rod end off. Now, just like on the upper control arm swap out for the 2009, we're not gonna break this loose. We're just gonna pop this off so our spindle can move. Now, one more thing we're gonna do while we're in here is he has a popping noise and we cannot seem to find it. So while we have the tie rods undone from the spindle and the spindles will move freely, we can isolate the sound. So we're taking off the whole mounting bracket and caliper all in one. It's a 17 millimeters, your backing bolts. I already got them loose. So don't forget to get your screwdriver, man, and pull your pads apart and collapse your piston on your caliper a little bit, so you don't have to fight it going back on. So we're gonna whiz this off, and then we're gonna get our rotor off for weight, because it is gonna be just hanging down, and we wanna be able to move it as freely as we can. Oh, did that backwards, didn't I, fellas? Should have took that bottom one off first so it would hang. And there it is right there. Now, never let your caliper just hang with the tension on the hose. You don't know what you're doing to the inside. So with this, right, there is Phillips screws we got to get out of there, and then the rotor will come off. So once you get your caliper off and out of the way, you get your rotor off, put your screws back in there. You have your two Phillips there to hold your rotor on. All right, and then these are 10s. These two are 10 millimeters for your brake line, which you want to take them off so you're not just dragging this line all over. Same over here. You have a bolt here and a bolt there, and it's for your ABS sensor. So take that off so you have play in that, and then put your bolts right back where you got them from. Now we're gonna get some needle nose. We're gonna pull this off, but first we're gonna do our tie rod in so that it'll move back and forth like this freely, and then we'll unleash this and let it hang down. We also have to take this off. I'll give you the socket size for this and everything here in just a minute. So let's keep it going. So for your bottom tie rod bolt, it is an 18 millimeter, right? And then your upper control arm up here is your 17 millimeter, which is the same as your brake mount caliper mounting bolts. Now, with that, like I stated in the upper control arm video for the truck, we're gonna break these loose and make sure they'll come all the way off before we unseat it out of here to do our best to keep that ball from spinning in there. So let's jump right into it. I'm just gonna set y'all down. There's that tie rod in right there. See, and with these, they're not that tight because you have your Carter key. You know, it's a castle nut with a Carter pin. So like always, you want to make sure it'll come all the way off. And then also, like I stated in the control arm video, seeing it is a castle nut and you have these little ears on top, run it on there upside down. You don't want to be beating on them little ears, bending them all up, right? So run it up there like that, and now we'll get to it. I do have my new tool, and we'll try it, but we don't want to tear that boot up. We're trying to reuse that. So now, let's see if we can't get you up to the top. Here, I'll just give the camera to DIY Dad. Now we're gonna break the top one loose, 17. And it's the same thing. It's not that tight. It's also got a Carter pin in there. And then we're also gonna do the same thing. Take our castle nut all the way off, run it on there upside down to right before flush right there, and then there it is. All right, man, so I have an 1 7/16 socket for our axle nut here. It's a little loose, but it'll work. It's a 6-point socket. So if you're running a 12-point socket, you want to get the exact fit. So I'll show you real quick how the fit is. It's just a little play. Now, I'm gonna go with it. I just don't have a metric socket that big. So here we go. And there it is. Simple as that. As long as you bend that tab out, it should come right off. So now with that, because I almost skipped a step. So now we'll get into taking our upper control arm and our tie rod end out, and it'll swing down. We can pull this out and then pop it out of there. So we have replaced all this stuff within the last year. So instead of using my fork tool, I'm gonna try to give it a little old love tap on both of them and get them up, because I really don't want to tear these boots up, man. This stuff's still fairly new. Now, if it doesn't work, we will drop back and punt. Now, let's just go ahead and roll with it. See? Popped right up, man. That's perfect. Then we're gonna do the top one too. Oh. See, that's gonna be a little more difficult. So it only took a little bit of beating. We got it off. Now, the bad thing is that it did pop that little ring, but it's metal. So it will pop back around there to seat your boot back, which we'll make sure to put that back on there. Now, while we're here, we might as well check. That's good. And then I also said something about the squeak or the popping noise. So while we have things isolated, we need to move things. See, that's good right there. Mm-hmm. So there's no pop, there's no play. I mean, that still feels nice in there actually. So that's a good thing. Well, with that, we already took our nut off. Y'all seen that. So now we get to pull this all the way out. All right, man, to kind of reiterate, so one of the reasons you're gonna take your tie rod in on, look how far over the spindle had to go. Then you're gonna get you a big screwdriver, you're gonna go right here, right? So this is gonna be, see, it's a forced deal. And we're also gonna have to take our strut mount off right here on the lower so we can have some play. Because once we can move this over a little more, we'll be able to pop it in there. But you're gonna put this in there and you're gonna pop it out. Once this comes over, see, So now we got to undo our fork, which is a 17 on the bottom right here, and then on the back, man, it might be a 17 on the back also. No, it's not a 17. I'll get y'all that size here in a minute. And so this top bolt here for your upper fork, this is a 14 right here, right? And then this bottom one here, so for myself, I had to run it out, all the way out and through. See, it's a long-winded bolt, all the way out. I had to back it out with my impact to get it to come all the way out. But now that that is off, we'll get a hammer, we'll tap right here and tap this off and then get it out of the way. At that point, our CV axle will come out, but you have to take this off to release your axle once you get it out of the transmission up in there. Okay, guys, so we had to work on this a minute. So if you see this right here, right, look at that. Now, two things. One, you need a pan to catch any fluid that may come out of your transmission. That'll be on the driver's side though. This is the passenger side. So now we're gonna climb underneath this car, right? I'm gonna show you what we got. Taking you with me. So you have to find something, right? Because it looks, let's see if I can get y'all up in there. You can't really see it too much, man. That's bad news. So right here, right? And you got to get something up in here, up through here, right? Up to this and drive it off. It looks like it don't come out and you do not. So let me get this light here. Y'all see that brace right there? You see where that shaft goes in there? It looks like you have to take that off to get it out of the transmission. I'm here to tell you that you do not. That bushing right there that you see, it is a mount. You can leave that in and then you tap your CV axle up right there. There it is, there's the shot. And once you tap it, if it don't come, just spin it a little bit and keep tapping on it. It'll eventually pop loose and then you can pull it out of there, man. So let me climb back up from underneath this car. Wow. So I did have to kind of figure that out. If you get a blunt object about a foot long, maybe a foot and a half long, if you're doing this on the ground. Now, if you have a lift, I mean, you're good to go. But if you're laying on the ground, get you something just long enough. And if it doesn't seem like it's gonna come out of there, don't give up, man. Just turn it a little bit, tap some more. Turn it a little bit, tap some more. Eventually it'll pop off of there and then you can pull it out. So this is the shaft that CV axle will come off of. Do y'all see that ring right there? There's a ring on there. That is your snap ring. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave the grease on there so it slides pretty good. Now this is the old one right here. So if you can see all the way down in the bottom, you see that groove? That ring has the snap in that groove. I mean, all the way at the bottom there. And when it does, it'll seal it on there. So we run over here. Here's the new one. And if you look down in there, it's got that same groove at the very bottom. So we have to make sure it snaps all the way in so it'll stay on there. And the new one has a little dust ring on here, which looks like it'll sit right up against that seal right there, which is a good thing. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna slide it on there and pop it in. So with this, now you know you have your retainer clip on here, right, which locks it in, and you need that on there. So whenever you go and you're gonna fill it, right, you'll turn it and you'll feel them splines line up. See, take your shaft and push it in. When you push it in, it'll clip in good. Now, something to note, do not pull your CV axle back until the inside comes apart. Now, what I'm talking about, I'm gonna show you. So we took the other one apart, and I'm gonna show you why you don't pull it apart without holding that cup. So, if you look at this here, this is the inside, right? That's the inside of this right here. It's what it looks like in this boot. So if you pull that all the way off, you risk these bearings coming off like that, and then you just ruined a new CV axle. So once you push it in there and pop it off, let me set this camera up. I'm gonna give you a demonstration. So like I was stating, this is gonna be, let me hold this over this trash can. This is how it's gonna sit on your car. So if you go to pull in your shaft, right? You see how them bearings are? They're gonna come out. And watch what happens when they come out. Oops. So then if it turns like so, or you lose a bearing, right, and it's just flopping around in your boot, then there it is. So once you go in with it, if you do any pulling this way, make sure you grab this right here. Do not pull your shaft like that. And that's how the inside of your CV axle is gonna work, right? Because with them bearings, it can do what it needs to do. So with that demonstration, we're gonna move on to bolting everything back up. So we got it all buttoned up, man. So when it comes to these here, you don't have to get crazy tighten them up, as long as your Carter key will go through the slot and it'll seal off right just like that. Now remember, 17, 18, this here I have an 1.7/16 socket. And then whenever you reinstall, seeing as the new CV axles came with a new axle nut, don't forget to bend your tab in for your locking. Now that's buttoned everything up, dude. 14 millimeter back here. Let me go over everything. That's a 14. The one on the bottom here is a 17. I got all them tight. Now I didn't go through a couple of things or show you on the other side, so I'm going to show you now, and that's also kind of why it's important to watch my whole videos. Now to get this bolt out, like I stated on the other side, you got to back it out, right? So you're going to get something, anything. I usually use a pair of pliers, some with a flat surface like that. And then keep your drill or impact in reverse and just push. See? And then once it gets so far, it should kind of come out. Well, you got to get something. See that? Just a little bit of pressure, and then that backs it out. I already took my 14 millimeter off up here. So you take this, get you a little room in there, and just tap it down. Now, like I stated in the earlier part of the video, you have to take this fork off to get your CV axle out, because of the way it goes over that shaft right there. Now, one more thing before we climb underneath this car. Now, you see how everything is just laying there? So this here is gonna go all the way to the side. You're gonna push this out as far as you can. Get you a big screwdriver and pry on it. Hold your control arm. Right, once you get it out of here, once you get it out of there like so, watch your ABS line there. Then you got to pry it out. All right, man, so after fighting it, dude, you got to pull this down, right? Be careful for your ABS line if you're not going to take it. And while you're doing that, you're going to push in and twist like this, right? And it popped out. Dude, I wished I would have had the camera on, but it will come out without taking your lower ball joint off. Now with that, we're going to get this out of the way. We're going to climb under the car. Let me see this light. And then we're going to pop that out of the transmission. This is where it's going to come in clutch to have your bucket to catch fluid, because you're probably going to lose a little bit whenever you pull that out. All right, gentlemen, so I have my bucket here, right? And you're going to place it so your CV axle is right there. That's your CV axle. DIY Dad's pulling on it. So you're going to place it underneath there. You're going to get you a screwdriver, right? And this should be a lot simpler, see? Y'all see where that screwdriver's at? And then you're just going to pop it. And it's the same as the passenger side. It might take a little bit. Just don't give up, man. It will come out of there. And once we get it out of there, I'll show you how to compare the sides. And I'll also show you why it's such a pain to get it out in some instances. All right, as you can see, it will separate. I had to roll it. I had to roll it around and pry on it, roll it around and pry on it. So it is dripping fluid. Okay, so we pulled the old one out. Not that much fluid comes out. It just drips a little bit. We wanted to check the old shaft to make sure that our lock-in key came off with the old one and it's not stuck down in there. So it's gonna be the same principle. So we're gonna shove it in, and we're gonna shove it in hard until it snaps, and we're not gonna pull it back. So we're not gonna pull the shaft back without holding on to this cup right here, because it's the same situation as the demonstration I showed you in here. And if you pull it back and a bearing falls off, well, you ruined the new CV axle. This is gonna be a real important tip. So do you see how that CV axle is flush up against there, right? Okay, so if you push it in and you don't push it hard enough, there'll be a gap in between your transmission right here and your CV axle right there. It has to go all the way in just like that. If it's not looking like that, you got to get something and pry that cup back out. Do not pull on that stem. You'll mess the CV axle up. You'll pry that back out and you'll shove it in. And you got to get it to pop all the way in up against the transmission, and that's what it's got to look like. And I want to show y'all how to get this in. It's a really snug and strange fit, but it will go in. I mean, it's see that? You just gotta push, man. Boom. Spin your wheel bearing, and there it is, see? So it will go in and come out with your lower ball joint installed. I wanted to go through that. These are some of the things that I forgot to show y'all on the other side. Well, we got it all bolted back up, man. Everything's back in tight. Carter keys are in, there. We'll do another little run through. So your mounting brackets are 17, upper control arm 17, tie rod in, outer tie rod in is an 18. I had an 1 7/16 socket for this. If you're gonna do that, use a 6-point socket. So I also bent my tab down, and then these here are 10s, there, and that was pretty much it for getting this off. Oh yeah, the fork. So this is a 14 on the top here, and it's a 17 on the bottom there, and the backing nut over here on this side is also a 17. Where's it at? Where's it at? Right here. That's a 17. So before we end this, man, now to tell the difference between your CV axles when you get them, this here is your female or passenger side connection right here, and this is your driver's side, which is your male connection. So you have your little locking key right here, right? On the passenger side, it's going to remain on the shaft that I showed you under the car. And then your new CV axle should have a new one on it right here. And you have to make sure they snap all the way in, or they'll fall out and your car will go into neutral. Now, with all of that, dude, I got to bolt these tires on. Oh, man, it's been about 5 hours. Now, he's going to do a test drive. We're going to make sure there's no popping or no funny noises. And then we'll end this video. We'll talk about the lower control arms for the 09 Hemi Ram, the upper control arm and lower ball joints for the 2003 Ram, and we'll wrap this bad boy up and head to the house. Here it is, man. It's down on the ground. Here we go. That suspension still squeaks. We still got to figure out what that is, man. We don't know where that noise is coming from yet. Let's see what it's got. Well, I didn't hear any popping. So, man, with all that, dude, we're gonna call that a wrap. He drove it around the parking lot, and it turned out real well. He said it drives nice, it didn't fall out of gear, and if it does, it's because your CV axle probably isn't all the way in. Man, I had to come in the shop. That sun is beaming, dude. Now, the car runs good. That's how you change your CV axles on your 2004 through 2008 Acura TL with the V6, the 3.2 liter V6 VTEC. Now, with all that, dude, before we wrap this video, so I ordered the lower control arms for the white truck, the 09 Hemi Ram. They were supposed to be in Thursday, they didn't come in. They got delayed, they're supposed to be here tomorrow. So next weekend, we're gonna get out there and change them because the steering's getting a little etchy, let's be honest. And then on top of that, I ordered the upper control arms for the 2003 Ram 1500. Y'all know we already had the lower ball joints, so we're gonna get into replacing them. And y'all are gonna wanna stick around for that video because doing the upper control arms is different than doing the upper control arms on the 2009 Ram. So with all that, guys, y'all keep living the dream, doing your thing. Like and subscribe. Always drop your boy a comment, and we'll catch you on the flip side.